Hi everyone, this is Dr. Ina and today is Saturday, March the 14th, 2026. Let's talk about farm. Many students afraid with farm, right? Let's talk about antihypertensive, diuretic, antiplatelet, anti-lipid, anticoagulant, antiarrhythmic, right? More detail. So let me show you the board. In my YouTube about hypertension, I mentioned some antihypertensive and diuretic, but I will add some more. Okay, so we already know olol beta blocker, right? If you already listen to YouTube hypertension, olol beta blocker. Be careful, olol can cause bradycardia, so you have to listen to apical pulse full 1 minute. If less than 60, you need to hold your olol, right? And report to doctor. So olol. Also, don't give propranolol for asthma patient because propranolol can cause bronchospasm, right? So contraindication, do not give it to asthma patient. Propranolol also can calm down the patient. So usually if in mental unit, if you have patient with BP high, we like to use propranolol because also can help to calm down the patient. So olol. And then you have pril ACE inhibitor, right? Angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitor. So how it works? It inhibit, it stop the enzyme that convert the angiotensin. Because if I can convert angiotensin number 1 become angiotensin number 2, then the blood vessel will constrict, the BP will go up, right? So this medication to inhibit, so it will not convert become angiotensin number 2, so the BP will not go up, because if vasoconstrict, BP go up. So I inhibit, that's why my pril as inhibitor is my anti-hypertensive, right? For pril, you have to remember this. The very common side effect is dry hacking cough, right? The dry hacking cough is pril. So you need to tell the patient, oh, you take this medication, it's possible there is a dry hacking cough because of this pril, right? The adverse effect is angioedema. Please remember this, pril. The adverse effect is angioedema, where their face swollen and then they difficult to swallow. You have to report immediately because this is ABC, right? Airway, breathing, circulation. So face swelling, difficult swallow. Teach the patient, if they have this sign and symptom of angioedema, they have to quickly report and you hold your medication, right? All this hypertension, also this pril, it can relax your blood vessel, right? That's why the BP can go down. It relax blood vessel, so the BP can go down. Pril also can protect kidney, right? It also can prevent the muscle of the heart enlarge. So with the pril, the good thing is we can protect the kidney, right? The pril can protect the kidney and can prevent enlargement of the heart muscle. So that's the good thing about pril, but be careful with angioedema and they can have dry hacking cough. So that's pril as inhibitor. And then your tan, right? Medication ending with tan, valsartan, losartan, right? This is your ARB. ARB stands for angiotensin number 2 receptor blocker. So from the name, from the class, you know how it works. This medication, tan, it blocks the receptor of angiotensin number 2. So it also will reduce the blood pressure, right? So this tan, be careful, you have to monitor for muscle cramp, hyperkalemia, right? So tan, it can cause hyperkalemia. That's why monitor muscle cramp. Don't give pregnant woman valsartan, losartan, right? Do not give pregnant woman. And then avoid salt substitute. You teach them, right? Because they can have hyperkalemia, so they have to avoid potassium diet, right? Don't give potassium diet and avoid salt substitute because salt substitute have potassium. And you tell them to increase, not decrease, right? To increase fluid intake. So this tan also can relax blood vessel, so the BP can go down just like your captopril, right? This losartan, valsartan also can protect kidney from damage, right? So that's the good thing. Valsartan, your captopril, they can protect kidney from damage, but be careful with tan. They can have hyperkalemia, so you have to monitor sign and symptom of hyperkalemia, right? So that's for your tan. Calcium channel blocker, right? The mnemonic is very nice drug, very nice drug. V for verapamil, that's your Calan. Nifedipine, so medication ending with dipine, that's your calcium channel blocker, right? And then diltiazem cardizem, right? Diltiazem cardizem, very nice drug, calcium channel blocker. So this calcium channel blocker also can relax blood vessel, BP also can go down, right? Your nifedipine can reduce the workload of the heart, right? It can reduce the workload of the heart. That's why calcium channel blocker is the first line for hypertension, right? So if they ask you what is the first line, what is the first medication that they choose for hypertension, your calcium channel blocker, because it can relax the vascular smooth muscle, right? The blood vessel smooth muscle, it's a vasodilator, so the BP can go down, right? Your first line for hypertension is your calcium channel blocker. And then you have sosin, tamsulosin, right? Ending with sosin. And this is antihypertensive, but you can also use this for BPH, benign prostate hypertrophy or hyperplasia, right? So remember that one, they always ask you this question, right? What antihypertensive that you can use for BPH, right? Is your sosin, tamsulosin. The class is alpha blocker, right? This is alpha blocker. Olo is beta blocker, but your sosin is your alpha blocker, and we can use this also for BPH. But if you use this for BPH, of course you have to monitor blood pressure because this is your antihypertensive. Sosin, and losin. Okay. Also know your herbal for BPH is your saw palmetto and pygeum, right? Saw palmetto and pygeum is the herbal for BPH. Now, another antihypertensive is your eplerenone, right? So this eplerenone is your aldosterone or mineralocorticoid receptor antagonist. Okay, the name of the class here is aldosterone. The other word for aldosterone is your mineralocorticoid. So this is your aldosterone receptor antagonist. So it against this aldosterone. We use eplerenone to reduce the swelling of the leg, right? So when you evaluate, how do you know this eplerenone working well? You want to see that the swelling in the leg less, right? It reduces the swelling at the leg. So this is eplerenone, right? It also relax your blood vessel to reduce the blood pressure, right? That's why eplerenone also one of your antihypertensive, eplerenone. So memorize eplerenone is aldosterone or mineralocorticoid antagonist. Then you also have hydralazine, right? This hydralazine hydrochloride is your direct acting vasodilator. It's also your alpha adrenergic, right? Alpha adrenergic hydralazine, hydrochloride, direct acting vasodilator. Vaso is blood vessel, dilator to make it bigger, right? So when your blood vessel dilate, BP will go down. So hydralazine, the class is direct acting vasodilator. It's your alpha adrenergic. But of course, report if the patient have facial rash. Okay, so when they use this hydralazine, this medication can induce SLE, systemic lupus erythematosus, right? So this is what we call drug-induced SLE, hydralazine. Remember, hydralazine, direct-acting vasodilator, can induce systemic lupus erythematosus. So if they have facial rash, butterfly rash at their face, teach them they have to report to doctor. Can be because of this hydralazine. Alright, and then clonidine. Clonidine is your central acting alpha number 2 agonist, right? Central acting alpha 2 agonist. Just remember central. This is central agonist. Agonist means they work together, right? Antagonist means against. But this is agonist, so they work together. So central acting alpha 2 agonist. With clonidine, you need to know that the side effect is very drowsy and tired, right? For clonidine, the side effect can be very drowsy and tired. So you can tell the patient, it's possible with this medication, they can very drowsy and tired, so don't drive the car, right? Very drowsy. And usually medication that can make them drowsy, we will give it at night, right? So clonidine, side effect, drowsy and tired. You also have nitro here. Nitro is your vasodilator to dilate the blood vessel. So again, if you dilate the blood vessel, the BP will go down, right? If somebody have heart attack acute, we give them nitro sublingual, right? If they have for maintenance, we give them nitro pads, right? But don't forget nitro pads, you have to take off 10 to 12 hours when they sleep, take it off, the pads from their skin. And the nitro sublingual, when they have acute chest pain, you give the first one, right? But if their mouth very dry, you can give them 1 sip of water first, so the mouth not so dry, and then you put the nitro sublingual under their tongue. Don't drink anymore, right? Because it should be sublingual. And if the 5 minutes later, if they still pain, you have to call 911, and you can give them nitro number 2. And then if nitro 2 5 minutes later still pain, then you give nitro number 3. Okay, there is no number 4 or number 5. So only 3 tablet. But if the pain already go away, then you don't need to give another one, right? So hopefully when you already give nitro number 3, hopefully the pain go away. If the pain go away, that's angina pectoris, right? But if the pain do not go away, that may be already MI. So hopefully at that time, the paramedic already come to help the patient, right? But this nitro is vasodilator, so it also can reduce the blood pressure. Because when people hypertension, their blood vessel constrict, right? Vessel constrict, BP go up. But if I can make the blood vessel dilate, the BP can go down. So I give nitro here because vasodilator. So people that hypertension, we can also give them diuretic, right? Because when they have hypertension, usually they overload, they have a lot of water in their body, so we can give them diuretic so they can urinate, right? And for diuretic, we use thiazide. This is your hydrochlorothiazide, right? Beside hydrochlorothiazide, you also have furosemide. Be careful, your hydrochlorothiazide and furosemide, they throw away potassium, so you have to monitor for hypokalemia, right? Monitor sign and symptom of hypokalemia. Teach them if there is a sign and symptom of hypokalemia, they have to report. All right. And then for spironolactone, this is your potassium sparing, right? Aldactone, other name, spironolactone, aldactone. The opposite, this one you have to monitor for hyperkalemia, right? Hyperkalemia. And then you have also mannitol and diamox. They are your osmotic diuretic, right? So these are your diuretic. Let's talk about this diuretic. What is special about diuretic? Let's talk about furosemide, right? So all these diuretic, they can cause orthostatic hypotension, right? Also this antihypertensive also can cause orthostatic hypotension. So teach your patient, when you get up slowly, because if you're too fast, you can black out, right? So for furosemide, orthostatic hypotension, this is your loop diuretic, and they inhibit sodium potassium chloride transporter in ascending loop of Henle, right? In kidney, right? Loop of Henle. So this is where they work in the ascending loop Henle, the one that go up, right? Ascending loop Henle. That's why I call this loop diuretic. So furosemide is your diuretic that's why it promote diuresis, make the patient pee, right? It increase the sodium and water excretion, not retention, but excretion, right? To excrete. So they throw away the water and sodium, so to make them pee. And it impaired the ability of the kidney to concentrate the urine, right? So furosemide, loop diuretic, it impaired the ability of the kidney to concentrate the urine, so the patient will pee it out. Diuresis, promote the diuresis. You have to monitor for hypokalemia, right? And the normal potassium should be 3.5 to 5. So when the hypokalemia, if the potassium less than 3.5, you have to hold your furosemide and notify doctor, right? Do not give furosemide together with digoxin, because that's when easily toxicity with digoxin, right? Digoxin never give with furosemide, because when hypokalemia and you give digoxin to somebody that hypokalemia, easily become toxicity with digoxin. Nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, yellow vision, hollow vision, right? Furosemide also can cause tinnitus, ringing in the ear, right? Furosemide can cause hearing loss. That's why you teach the patient, notify doctor if there is changes to their hearing, right? If they hear ringing in the ear or they feel dizzy, right? make sure teach them, notify doctor, right? Because when they hypokalemia, then they will become confused, they become weak, they can have irregular heart rate. Remember, potassium, I don't care low or high, it will affect the heart, right? They can have cardiac dysrhythmia and then cardiac arrest. So that's why teach them, when you use furosemide, it's possible that the patient can have hypokalemia, they become confused, they become very weak and irregular heart rate, they have to report. Okay, hearing changes, ringing in the ear, feel dizzy, report to doctor. Okay, maybe already hypokalemia, check the lab, check the potassium. And because there is for hypokalemia, you will encourage them to eat potassium diet, right? Banana, kiwi, raisin, right? So know your potassium diet. Okay, so that's for hydrochloroside and your furosemide, right? Now hydrochlorothiazide. Earlier is for furosemide. Now especially for hydrochlorothiazide also it can cause hypokalemia. So tell them, teach them to eat citrus fruit, right? Citrus fruit have potassium, and then this hydrochlorothiazide will inhibit the reabsorption sodium in distal convoluted tubule. Furosemide work in the ascending loop Henle. That's why furosemide is loop diuretic. But hydrochlorothiazide, where it work in the distal convoluted tubule in the kidney, right? So this is other part of the kidney, in the distal area convoluted tubule. Contraindication for hydrochlorothiazide is anuria. So when the patient no urine at all, zero urine, you cannot give them hydrochlorothiazide because it require functional nephron, right, to give this hydrochlorothiazide. So remember, contraindication is anuria. If there is no urine at all, you cannot give them diuretic. Okay, the patient no pee at all, anuria, no hydrochlorothiazide. And also the adverse effect of hydrochlorothiazide, they can have increased uric acid, hyperuricemia. Okay, so uric acid can go up because of the hydrochlorothiazide. So don't give this hydrochlorothiazide for people that already gout, right? Because it increases the uric acid. And all this diuretic, of course, you have to give it in the morning. You don't want to give it at night, because if you give it at night, they will continue wake up to pee, right? So all this diuretic, give it in the morning. Okay? So, spironolactone. Spironolactone is your potassium sparing. Means be careful, monitor for hyperkalemia, right? And don't give them diet potassium because they already hyperkalemia. So you have to monitor sign and symptom of hyperkalemia. Okay, so contraindication, if the patient already hyperkalemia, you cannot give them spironolactone. Don't give your spironolactone together with ACE inhibitor, pril, right? Do not give spironolactone together with ACE inhibitor, because ACE inhibitor also will keep potassium. Okay, ACE inhibitor, your pril also keep potassium, so we don't give spironolactone together with ACE inhibitor. And because they already risk for hyperkalemia, we have to teach them avoid salt substitute, right? Because salt substitute have a lot of potassium. And contraindication, they can block effect of the aldosterone, right? They can block effect of aldosterone, this spironolactone, right? They can reduce, that's why we call this aldactone also, right? So they block effect of aldosterone, so they can reduce the reabsorption sodium and water in kidney. Okay, they reduce the reabsorption sodium and water in kidney, so that's why this is your diuretic, right? So they reduce the reabsorption water, so the patient will pee. And we use this potassium sparing diuretic for ascites because of cirrhotic hepatic. Okay, potassium sparing diuretic, we use this for ascites patient because of cirrhotic hepatic. Again, this spironolactone is your mineralocorticoid receptor antagonist. It blocks the action of aldosterone. Okay, it blocks the action of aldosterone. This is your spironolactone. And then mannitol. Let's talk about mannitol. Mannitol is your osmotic diuretic, right? Osmotic diuretic, hypertonic. So it creates osmotic gradient it draw the water out from body tissue and throw it to the urine. Okay, so this monitor, it create the osmotic gradient, it draw the water out from the body tissue and throw it to the urine. It will increase the plasma tonicity, right? The tonicity of the plasma without being metabolized. Okay, this monitor, it increase the plasma tonicity without being metabolized. And also it increase osmolality of the fluid in loop of Henle. Monitor can increase the osmolality fluid in the loop of Henle, right? Monitor. But be careful, the serious adverse effect of monitor is seizures. This is rebound cerebral edema. So we have to monitor, we don't want any seizures when we give this monitor. Usually we give monitor for people, patient with cerebral edema, right? Their brain edema, so the medication is the monitor. But be careful, rebound can happen. So if there's suddenly seizures, you have to quickly report to doctor, right? That's rebound of the cerebral edema. And contraindication is acute pulmonary edema, right? Even though this is good for edema, but be careful, we don't give it to people that acute pulmonary edema, right? So if the water in the lung and acute happen really soon, right? The one that acute, you have to report. So if they have SOB, if they have crackles, right, problem with breathing, quickly report to doctor because the adverse effect of monitor is acute pulmonary edema. We give this monitor for people that cerebral edema. Do not give to patient with pulmonary edema. All right, so that's important to know about diuretic, right? And know all these four: hydrochlorothiazide furosemide, careful hypokalemia, spironolactone is the opposite, careful with hyperkalemia, and mannitol is your diuretic osmotic that we use for cerebral edema. Be careful, the contraindication is pulmonary edema. Alright, and then other medication that I write here on the board, right? Antiplatelet, that's your aspirin and clopidogrel, right? When heart attack, MONA is morphine, O2, nitro, and aspirin. Morphine because the pain is severe in chest pain. O2 because their O2 already low, right? Nitro, that's your vasodilator because when they have chest pain, their BP very high. That's why we give them nitro vasodilator. And why we give them aspirin? Because antiplatelet, right? Antiplatelet. Don't say analgesic because aspirin is analgesic only for mild pain, right? So when heart attack, I use aspirin not as analgesic, but I use it for antiplatelet effect, right? And for the aspirin, you have to monitor for bleeding, right? Aspirin also your antipyretic to reduce the fever, but I don't use here as antipyretic for heart attack, right? And then aspirin also can be your NSAID, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, right? But in heart attack, the reason I use aspirin because of the effect antiplatelet. If somebody use aspirin for long term, they also can have tinnitus, right? And don't give aspirin to children because Reyes syndrome. Sometimes we compromise, sometimes juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, or they have endocarditis, or they have Kawasaki, right? Sometimes if we have to give them aspirin, make sure there is no viral infection, right? Because somehow when they have viral infection, if we give aspirin, that's the time when a lot Reyes syndrome happen. And Reyes syndrome means the brain damage, right? Impaired cognitive. So that's Reyes syndrome. And when you give aspirin and clopidogrel, monitor bleeding. I don't want Teristol, I don't want their gum bleeding, right? So you teach them to assess bleeding sign and symptom, right? And report if there is bleeding already, bruise a lot, petechia, ecchymosis, purpura, right? Melena, I don't want hemothorax, I don't want hematuria. So all bleeding. If they see the sign and symptom bleeding, report to doctor. All right. Thrombolytic, this is the medication that lyses the thrombus. Usually we use this for fresh MI, fresh stroke. less than 3 hours, right? That's the reason why when people have heart attack or stroke, we always ask them, what time is your heart attack, or what time is the stroke, right? Because if less than 3 hours, we can use this thrombolytic, right? This is your urokinase, alteplase, right? Thrombokinase, so it ending with kinase, TPA, tissue plasminogen activator, right? This is your thrombolytic. And if you give too much thrombolytic, now they bleeding, antidote is Amikar, okay? Amikar. So easy to remember. My strategy is boom car, right? I always remember boom car. It helped me to remember Amikar. Amikar is the antidote for toxicity with thrombolytic. All right. And then many people that have cardio problem, usually their cholesterol is very high, right? Please know your lab value. Cholesterol normal, I want under 200. Triglyceride, I want under 150. HDL is the good cholesterol, right? HDL, heaven, right? Good cholesterol, 40 to 60. This is your high density lipoprotein. And then LDL, low density lipoprotein, is the bad cholesterol, and normal should be under 100, right? So many of my medication, I want to increase the HDL, but I want to decrease the LDL, decrease the cholesterol, decrease the triglyceride. Remember that, right? I want to increase the HDL, but I want to reduce the cholesterol, the triglyceride, reduce the LDL, because that's the bad cholesterol. And you have many anti-lipid, right? For people that their lipid high, statin. All right, the class is HMG, CoA reductase inhibitor, right? So it inhibits that enzyme. And then the fibrate is your gemfibrocil, right? The name of medication, gemfibrocil, and the class is fibrate. You have cholecephalam, that's your bile acid sequestrant. You have niacin. Niacin actually your vitamin B number 3, right? Niacin, this can cause your face, the patient face flushing, red color, right? Only the face. Nicotinic acid, that's the class, nicotinic acid, niacin. There is ezetimibe. Ezetimibe is your cholesterol absorption inhibitor, right? Cholesterol absorption inhibitor. So that's how it works. It inhibits the absorption of the cholesterol, ezetimibe. And then you also have adenosine triphosphate citrate lyase inhibitor. So this is your bempedoic acid, right? Bempedoic acid. The class is adenosine triphosphate, right? Citrate lyase inhibitor. So it inhibits those enzymes. And then you also have alirocumab. This is still your anti-lipid, right? And the class is PCSK number 9 monoclonal antibody inhibitor, right? PCSK number 9 monoclonal antibody inhibitor. This is your alirocumab. And then one more, your short interfering RNA, right? Short interfering RNA is your inclisiran. Okay, inclisiran. So your anti-lipid, statin, your gemfibrocil, cholecephalam, niacin, that's vitamin B number 3, ezetimibe, right, to inhibit absorption cholesterol, bempedoic acid, alirocumab, right, and inclisiran. For statin, remember this, don't give it together with grapefruit juice, the contraindication, and report if the patient complain muscle pain. Okay, that's always in the test. Statin, if they have muscle pain, report to doctor, because maybe they have rhabdomyolysis, right? Rhabdo is the abdomen area, myo is the muscle, lysis is the dissolve, right? So the adverse effect of statin can have rhabdomyolysis, lysis of the muscle in the abdomen. Or they use other word, myopathy, myalgia. So if they have muscle pain, report to doctor. Statin. Usually we give it only one time at night before they sleep. Okay, this statin. Also check their kidney, make sure the kidney is good so they can throw away the waste product. Okay, so this is anti-lipid, because usually people that high risk for cardio problem is people with the high cholesterol. Now anticoagulant, right? Make sure you memorize what is your anticoagulant, right? Don't say aspirin anticoagulant. It's not. Aspirin is your antiplatelet. Aspirin can be analgesic for pain. Aspirin can be antipyretic. Aspirin can be NSAID, right? But aspirin is not anticoagulant, right? The one that anticoagulant is your warfarin, heparin, enoxaparin, dabigatran, apisaban, right? So usually ending with tran, saban, saban. That's your anticoagulant. Make sure you know your warfarin and heparin, right? Warfarin Coumadin is your PO, it's tablet, right? Tablet. So usually if the patient already leave the hospital, they already go home, we give them warfarin Coumadin, right? Warfarin and Coumadin is the same. Because it's PO, right? It's PO. But when they take this tablet, you have to check the PT and INR, right? Prothrombin time normally 10 to 12 seconds. INR usually 2 to 3, right? International normal ratio, right? PT is prothrombin time 10 to 12 seconds. INR usually for people that use warfarin 2 to 3 is good enough, right? 2 to 3 if they can reach that one. If they toxicity with warfarin, antidote is vitamin K, generic is pitonadione aquamefiton. Okay, vitamin K, but you have to know the generic pitonadione aquamefiton. Pitonadione, right? And your green leafy vegetables have a lot of vitamin K. So we tell them when they take warfarin, don't eat too much green leafy vegetables because that's vitamin K. So if you give them, if they eat too much green leafy vegetables, you neutralize this warfarin, right? And then now, if you neutralize, now they risk for blood clot, correct? The reason why we give them this medication, so they will not have blood clot. Heparin. Usually when they stay in hospital after surgery, we still give them heparin because heparin is subcute or IV, right? There is no PO for heparin because the enzyme in GI will destroy the heparin. That's why there is no PO, right? Heparin only subcute, heparin only IV. So that's why when in hospital, we give them heparin. And many times people that after surgery, we give heparin and warfarin together because for warfarin to start working need 5 days, right? So the reason why we give them together, we wait until warfarin start to work, and after 5 days together, we stop the heparin, right? And we just continue warfarin because the patient get ready to go home, so easy for them only eat tablet, all right? For heparin, you have to check the PTT, prothrombin thromboplastin time, right? Prothrombin thromboplastin time, 35 to 40 seconds times control, and it will give you 60 to 70 seconds. Sometimes you will see the word activated PTT. It means that I give them addition substance, right, to make the blood become clot faster, right? So that's why the activated PTT is 35 to 40 seconds. So as long as the PTT under 70, that's good. You don't need to report, right? But if the PTT more than 70, right? If the PT more than 12 seconds, if the INR more than 3, right? You have to report, right? You have to report because that means the blood is too thin inside the patient, right? And if the blood too thin, now they need antidote, right? For heparin, the antidote is protamine sulfate. Heparin antidote is protamine sulfate. Warfarin toxicity antidote is vitamin K, pitonadione, aquamefiton. So remember that, don't confuse between these two, right? Heparin is the one that PS, protamine sulfate. Heparin, protamine sulfate, right? Enoxaparin. Enoxaparin is low molecule heparin. Low molecule heparin. And many patients, they prefer enoxaparin because you don't need to check their lab value for PTT, right? Only heparin, you have to check PTT. Warfarin, you have to check for PT and INR. Other medication anticoagulant, you don't need to check the lab, so you don't hurt the patient. So many times they prefer, just give me something else, not warfarin or heparin, right? But if the test asks you what is the antidote for enoxaparin, because enoxaparin also parin, they are still one family. So the antidote also protamine sulfate. Okay, enoxaparin also antidote protamine sulfate. This is your Lovenox. In hospital, the trade name we call that Lovenox, right? And then dabigatran, apisaban, those are also your anticoagulant. Okay, Xarelto, right? Antiarrhythmic. Antiarrhythmic mean whatever medication that can make irregular heart rate become regular, we call that antiarrhythmic. That's why certain antihypertensive like olol-olol, calcium channel blocker, they are also your antiarrhythmic. True, they are your antihypertensive, they can reduce the blood pressure, but they also can make irregular heart rate become regular, so they also antiarrhythmic drug, right? And the very famous one here is digoxin, because digoxin you can use for atrial fibrillation, atrial flutter, congestive heart failure, right? Digoxin is the antiarrhythmic that we use for atrial fibrillation, atrial flutter, and congestive heart failure. But don't forget, digoxin is your inotrope effect, right? Inotrope effect just like your olol-olol. So it make the heart slower but stronger. We love the stronger part. That's why we give this medication to make the heart will pump stronger, but be careful with slower bradycardia. That's the reason why digoxin, olol-olol, right? You have to always listen to the apical pulse. If less than 60, you have to hold it. Okay, so many of these antihypertensive, be careful. Like Pril also can have that inotrope effect. Your calcium channel blocker, don't give it to people that congestive heart failure, right? So be careful for certain condition with the heart, right? So listen to apical pulse for full 1 minute. If less than 60 for adult, hold your digoxin, hold your olol, and for baby, if less than 100, hold your medication, right? Because the baby fetal heart rate normally is 110 to 160. So if the heart rate already under 100, that's already too slow. Okay, so your digoxin is the antiarrhythmic and the best for atrial fibrillation, atrial flutter, and congestive heart failure. Other antiarrhythmic can be lidocaine, atropine, right? Atropine, your anticholinergic, dry, right? Atropine can increase the vital sign. Also your lidocaine, right? And then procainamide, amiodarone, adenosine. Adenosine is the drug of choice for SVT, supraventricular tachycardia. Alright, so these are some medication that important you need to know for cardio condition. So I hope this one will be useful and you read some more for addition. Alright, hopefully useful. Thank you. See you again next time. Bye.